No Time to Die was very, very expensive to make. Wikipedia says that it cost $250 million, less advertising costs, which is usually the same again, and I believe that figure in the same way that my wife believes I only spent £20 down the pub last night. At least for the 2020 James Bond film. I seriously doubt that the 1958 film with the same name, except in the US, where the film was called Tank Force, cost anywhere near that, and even if it did, I don't really care. Even if Kinematograph Weekly listed it as being in the money at the British box office in 1958, whatever the film that means. Also, what the living film is a kinematograph? Answer on the back of a postcard, please. Back with Bond, and this is somehow complicated and at the same time very simple. No Time to Die cost a lot of money to make. Thus far, much like Return of the Jedi, it hasn't made a penny of profit for anyone involved. No, seriously, according to the suits, Return of the Jedi still hasn't and probably never will make any profit because in the movies, the most creative people work in the accounts department. Now, a lot of that money came from loans. Those loans are currently accruing roughly $1 million a month in interest, and that's something that wasn't budgeted for and I imagine is keeping a lot of executives awake at night. Now, as far as I know, this $250 million budget plus $1 million in interest has been made worse by the fact that an additional $66 million, according to Variety, who also claimed the film had a $301 million net budget, but I'm sticking to the $250 million for this article, was spent on advertising. So now this film has allegedly cost at least $250 plus $66 million, carry the $316 million. That's an unspecified amount from product placement, so I'll take nothing off for that. And then accepting that every film needs to make double that amount for anyone to have bothered with this thing at all, this film needs to make $632 million. Assuming 100% of the take goes back to the studios, that is, if cinemas get involved, you can add another $100 to $200 million on top of that, which in normal years wouldn't have been an issue. I mean, this is a James Bond film. Of course it would make what it needed to. Film, I was down to see it at least 4 times, and that was a low estimate. Of course, 2020 is not a normal year. Bond was moved first to November, and then again to April the 2nd, 2021, and I would bet my script guy that it's probably going to move again, which is an issue when your studio is hurting for cash. Now, a lot of films have been moving to streaming, with studios figuring a little money now is better than hoping for big money tomorrow, which probably isn't going to happen. The first few big films out when cinemas do reopen are most likely going to flop and flop badly if Tenet is anything to go by. Now, this is where things get really interesting. Like I said, Tank Force is going to be full of product placement from the likes of Omega, Tom Ford, Nokia's, as well as the nearly undrinkable Heineken, and so many more brands, all expecting to see James Bond use their products on the silver screen. If the film goes straight to streaming, they're going to be unimpressed and could ask for a lot of their money back, which is really going to hurt the studio. Also, the global distribution rights to this film have already been sold. After the Sony Pictures contract to co-produce James Bond films with Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer Pictures and Eon Productions expired with the release of Spectre in April 2017, Sony Pictures, Warner Bros. Pictures, 20th Century Fox, Universal, and Annapurna entered a bidding competition to win the distribution rights. MGM secured the North American, digital and worldwide television rights to this film through its distribution on United Artists Releasing, while Universal became the international distributor and holder of the rights for physical home entertainment worldwide. Going straight to streaming would most likely result in some serious lawsuits from them as well. On top of that, the Bond franchise is rather traditional about things. Apparently, I can't confirm this, the people who actually own James Bond have flatly refused to even think about Bond going first to streaming. I like to imagine the suggestion was greeted with monocles popping out and champagne/brandy glasses being dropped. But MGM has essentially depended on the periodic James Bond movies to keep itself afloat for at least as long as I've been doing film. Periodic successes elsewhere, producer credits on the Hobbit trilogy, success with Rocky and Creed franchises aside, they're essentially living and dying by 007. Which is probably why MGM was hoping for an offer between $600 to $850 million, which might have been an impressive enough number to convince Broccoli and Wilson, the owners of James Bond, to forego a theatrical release. Instead, the streamers indicated that they wouldn't top $400 million, which is more than MGM had already spent making the movie when Craig and the producers' back ends were taken into account. And that's where things are likely to stay. No streaming service is going to shell out the better part of $1 billion for one film, no matter what pedigree it is, and the rights owners aren't going to take a hit for streaming service when their ship's going to come in soon, laden with lovely, wonderful, amazing ticket sales. Because of course cinemas around the globe will be open and capable of helping a film make its $1 billion in a mere 6 months. Whatever they're smoking, I want some. Now, of course, the nightmare scenario making the rounds on some of the James Bond fan boards is that Tank Patrol gets punted to 2022 to mark the 60th anniversary of the series, like Skyfall marked the 50th, which I don't believe for a second. No soulless executive is going to lose millions in interest over something as small as an anniversary, and I still haven't forgiven the franchise for missing the wide open goal that was releasing a Bond film in the year 2007. I mean, seriously, how do you miss that? You know what?
This looks like a job for...
GoFundMe. No, seriously, someone in Coventry of all places has set up a 607 million, originally pounds but now dollars, GoFundMe to acquire the rights to Tank Patrol and release it for Christmas in the UK. It's at £790 at the moment, so it's a bit of a way to go. But where should we screen it, I hear you cry? Well, The Guardian reckons after getting everyone in the UK to chip in £10 and then making the money back by selling the film around the world, we could show the film for free on BBC One on Christmas Day, which is something I can completely get behind, and it can bring in a whole new world of cinema. I mean, imagine blockbusters getting funded via this mesh, and to quote The Guardian, in time we could even decide which films get made. We could bring David Lynch back to the cinema. We could get Tarantino's Star Trek movie off the ground. We could will a third Minions movie into being. A move like this would democratise filmmaking forever. So thank you, Team Bonds, who created the GoFundMe. Thank you for showing us the future. But what do you think should happen to Tank Patrol? Should it be screened, streamed, or nationalised? Let me know below. I'm Daniel, it's been a dunking. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe.